You have your first Bellator fight coming up December 15th. What exactly do you know about your opponent? He hasn't been featured prominently in Bellator before, and you're kind of heading he's a lot closer to home than you'll be, I'll say that.
Yes, yeah, he is. I'm gonna have to deal with some time adjustments, dealing with jet lag. It's actually a really big pain to have to deal with and still perform properly. But I think we'll be able to handle it no problem. So that's good. But yes, Peter, I think his proper pronunciation is Ligier, I think. And if I'm wrong, please correct me because I'd like to know before I see the guy face to face. But anyways, I know he's very aggressive. He's a very tough guy. He kind of reminds me of Brad Pickett a little bit, and comes forward often. In all of his fights that I've seen, whether he's trying to strike or take the guy down, he's always coming forward. A very aggressive guy. He's just a gamer. I mean, one of his fights, I seen the guy, someone just beat him down, and he just kept coming and never stopped. So I'm expecting him to. I think I'm the highest profile fight that he's had. I'm expecting him to train hard, and I'm expecting him to be aggressive as he always is, and to stay in there and be tough as he always is.
How does traveling overseas affect the weight cutting and things like that? This isn't your first time. You fought Barrow in England.
Yes. Yeah, the biggest thing is sleep. I wasn't really prepared for that my first time over in England, and I thought that I would get there and then everything would just kind of settle itself out. And then, because I mean, once you go there, you have full schedules throughout the day, and so I just assumed that me, whether I was tired or not, I would that schedule would just keep me awake, and because I had to do work, and then I had to train all this kind of crap like that, and then it would get me on the schedule, and that didn't happen. So this time I really need to plan for it. And so, for example, we're only getting about 4 hours of sleep the night before we leave. And then when we get there, because we leave our America, we leave, not America. I get on a plane at noon, my time on Saturday. And I get there in England on 9 a.m., Sunday. And so as soon as I get there, it's a full day. I need to make sure that I've slept, and so we're going to try to knock it out actually on the very first day that I get there and get accustomed to that. So going to try to sleep on the plane right over to London and get a full 8 hours there. And then even if I have struggle sleeping on that plane, I have to stay awake that entire day to get on to London time. So that's the plan this time.
You often hear about MMA mileage versus actual age. You are allegedly 26 years old.
Yeah.
That we know of. You'll be 27 in January. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah.
Because you've been doing this for over a decade now, it seems.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that, man. That I've been fighting professionally for over 10 years now. And that's pretty weird.
At 21, you had beaten what many considered the best bantamweight ever at that point.
Yeah. So I've had a lot of experience under my belt, even though I'm a young guy. And that's cool, to think that's pretty crazy to think that I could have another 10 to 15 years if I take care of my body is pretty insane. Because I can't even think about that. But no, it is pretty cool. And yes, I do have a lot of miles on my body. And if you don't learn, your body's going to deteriorate pretty quick. So I've had to learn how to take care of my body after destroying it. My body was falling apart at 18, 19 years old. I've had, 3 hand surgeries. I was positive I was going to need a back surgery and a shoulder surgery. I haven't had to have one. Those have actually gone away. But yeah, it's you learn a lot. And if you don't learn, you become a dinosaur, and you got to retire because you're not going to be moving.
You're not going to see a lot of 26-year-olds who have had a year and a half out of the cage, and before that, a couple years out of the cage. When you had a couple years out of the cage, you came back and you finished a guy in about a round and a half. How does ring rust apply to you, or do you think it even does?
It's a highly debated topic.
especially
might
among
sound strange
bantamweights,
to say
elite
this.
bantamweights. It is.
Yeah, it might sound strange to say this because I think that I have experience with this whole on and off thing, but I don't think I'm an expert on ring rust, which I don't know who would be if I'm not. So that's kind of strange. But it's highly debated, and I'm not exactly sure. There's a little bit of subconscious, like, oh my goodness, I haven't been here for a while. There's a little bit of that. But if you're a gamer and you're a performer, I don't think it matters that much. I would say that it would matter a little bit more on your training and your strategy and going into it if you're struggling with, like, quote unquote ring rust, that you might try to overcomplicate it and, like, overcomplicate your game plan and stuff like that, and thinking that it's, just more complicated than it is, because it's really a simple thing. You just train, then you go in there and you go on autopilot, and then whatever happens.
Your exit from the UFC was pretty well documented. You said that they had dealt very dishonestly and disrespectfully. What in particular happened there?
Man, I learned a lot about business during that, and I have to say, it's not that the UFC or I was dealing with Sean Shelby, and that's what I was dealing with. It's not that they were dealing unordinarily, like, towards me. It wasn't unusual the way that they were doing business with me, and it's not even like uncommon American business practices. It was standard American business, and I'm not cool with standard American business of, I mean, you go on to Craigslist, it's the same thing. You go on to Craigslist or something like that, and someone's like, hey, what's the lowest you'll accept for that? And you're like, only $60, and you'll really go down to 50. It's just like that. It's dishonesty, but it's just normal American business. So I don't want to blow it out of the water and make it seem like it was worse than it was with the UFC, but that's what it was. I was being honest with Sean. Is what it was, and I think that he thought that I was playing the American business game. Of, hey, Sean, I'm just letting you know, if there's not this much money in it for me right now, then I'm just letting you know, this is just the way that it is. This is the way life works. That you're gonna have to wait a little bit, because I'm making more money in my woodworking, my custom woodworking. I'm a cabinet and furniture maker, self-employed, and I'm making more money at that right now. And you got to wait a little bit of time, unfortunately, if there's not X amount of dollars in it for me right now. And that was an honest statement. I wasn't trying to lowball him, and I think it came off a little, I mean, he hears that all the time, from people. Oh, I need more money, and managers, being dishonest. Oh, we need this much, or it's not worth it, when it really is worth it for him. And I was being honest, and I think that's an uncommon thing. And so we kind of went into that battle of, but I was being honest. I wasn't trying to lowball him, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like that whole dance.
It seems like they've heard that a lot more recently, though. Like, you've seen Ally Aquinta, like, no, I think I'll just hang out and do real estate for a while. TJ Grant has, like, I don't even know if the guy's tried to get cleared since his concussion issues, because he says he's doing just fine outside of the UFC. Do you think that this happening with such frequency these days as compared to what it used to be, do you think that maybe surprises them a little bit?
I don't know if it surprises the UFC. I mean, they've always had difficulties. I mean, whether it's, states not clearing them, and, and there not being any money in it for anybody, that was just a common thing back in the day. Is nobody expected to make a killing off of their, UFC fights. You look at some of these pioneers, they never made any real money on their UFC matches. They got publicity, and they got famous, and then they made money off of their fame, is what they did, but they never made a killing. And I think that it's the sport is at the age where people are ready to get paid like other sports. I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think most professional sports take about half of their profit margin and put that towards their athletes. And I think the UFC's is well under 10%. And I think that the community is expecting it. And I know I was expecting that once I got into the UFC, and once I had some success, that the money would just take care of itself. And that's not exactly what happened. It's not like like I said previous. This is not like the business is not professional like athletics business. It is American business, and it's no different than you having a product and you're trying to get it out, and you got people trying to take your spot on that shelf. It's no different.
How quickly after you made it public that you were leaving UFC, or maybe even before, did you hear from Bellator, and what was that process like?
Right. We got a couple of offers. I honestly don't even know what I'm legally allowed to say, but I'll try not to say anything that I don't think is stupid. But we got a couple of offers from different people, but immediately we thought Bellator was going to be the highest bidder in the place we wanted to work for. Even Bellator even puts on mini shows closer to where I live than the other organizations. So I would much rather fight locally to home than like fight in Japan or something like that. I mean, I'm going to England, which is okay, but I would rather fight close to home. All those things considering, Bellator was the expected favorite, which they were, which was nice. And it wasn't that long. Everyone, talked to us relatively promptly.
How often are you looking to compete now that you're back in action?
Yeah, I would say as much as I'm healthfully able to do so, mentally and physically and spiritually. I wish I could say it's going to be this much. This is my quota, or something like that. And I think that I made a mistake with that in the past of having a goal of what it needed to look like, and then my body wasn't ready to do that, and I wanted to push my body beyond that. And then if I couldn't, it would get me down or something like that. Or I'd plan my finances on that plan, or even a rough plan, and then I have surgery, and then I'd be out for 2 years, stuff like that. So I don't really look at it that way anymore. Now it's more so I'd like to do what I'm able to. If I get done with this and I'm like, hey, my body feels fantastic. Now I know for sure, I've neglected a lot of things, like my house. Like I have a house, and I have crap I got to do around my house, like for when this thing is done, I've been putting them off. There's some little things like that, and I can't just jump immediately back in, because when I go all into these things, I go all in. And if something's coming in the way, it doesn't get done. I got to prepare for my taxes, crap like that. So there's little things that have to be done, and just for me to like survive and to live. And if those things crumble, my performance is going to crumble. So it might seem like they're unimportant, but they are very important, because if my life crumbles, so does my career, and so does my performances. And no one wants to see, me included, my performances decrease. So there's some things I have to do, and I would just say as often as I can, I want to fight. If I'm healthy, if my life is ready and stable, and there's crap I put off for this last fight, when I get them handled, let's go back and let's continue to get it done, because it doesn't feel good to have to go half-heartedly into training. That's probably like the worst feeling in the world. And I go all in, and I want to make sure that I'm able to do that every single time I do it.